Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Isn't it funny what you can fit into a day if you get up early? I actually got up really early. Well, it's not early for some people, but I got up early this morning and I actually went into the garden for 2 hours. Oh, it nearly finished me off. Couldn't believe the heat even at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I did a bit of gardening for 2 hours and I have to say there's still so much to do, but hey ho, it's too hot now. So I'm always torn when I get new stamps between the garden and my stamping. So I get torn between both of them. But as I was out in the garden, I was thinking some more about doing another sample with this beautiful stamp set, Hexapetalistic. I absolutely love it. I know it's my designs, but I just love them. And I think what I tend to do, I've decided that it's better to sort of concentrate on a certain stamp set at a time rather than trying to do everything all at once, because you just don't get anything achieved then. I've got my fan on if there's a little bit of droning in the background, because there is no way I can manage in the craft room, even though it's at the back of the house. There's no way I can manage in the craft room without a fan. I am absolutely boiling. Being a redhead really does have some disadvantages. I'm not a sun worshipper, so it doesn't work for me. And we do have to be grateful we've got some nice warm weather, but a redhead like me, honestly, I'm quite happy if it's just 70 outside. And if I'm working in the garden, you know, even 65, because you soon get warm. Anyway, stop whinging, Tracy. So what I want to do is I want to do something a little bit different with the flower. The idea is I want to give you some inspiration again before the shows that are coming on Friday. So I'm going to do the usual thing. If you're looking for the new release, if you go to createandcraft.com, and if you click on the calendar, and if you go back when they were first on, which is Thursday the 8th of June, you go to 6 p.m. and you've got the I'll just click on the wrong one. You've got the AALLandCreate 1 day special, and on there you've got the stamps. So let's just, so you can see that you've got the bundle there, and this stamp is in that bundle. So if you go to that show, it shows you all the stamps as well, and it's got the reduced price on there as well. Phew, the heat, unbelievable. So I want to try and give you as much inspiration as I possibly can. I have to try and fit everything in, because my poor little doggies wanted some cuddles as well, so I had to give them a little bit of attention as well. So, and I can tell I've been in the garden. I was going to say my hands are not exactly the cleanest. It's not exactly clean for a video. Let's just give those a little bit of a wipe. I have washed them about 10 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some low tack tape, and I'm just going to, do I need to make it, I'm just going to wipe, sort of press that onto my top, just so that it's a little bit more low tack, or you can just press it onto your skin just to make that a little bit more low tack. Let me just, and what I'm doing is I'm just going to leave a little narrow border. I'll try and lift this up so that you can see. Let me just press that on my hand just to remove some of the tackiness, even though it is a low tack tape anyway, and it's usually pretty good. It actually takes me longer to put the low tack tape down than it does anything else. I just want to make sure that I do it right. And then getting it off the desk takes me ages as well. But you're used to that by now. And there's no such thing as rushing at the moment in this heat. So hopefully when you're sitting down in the evening, it's a little bit cooler. Who am I kidding? you can perhaps enjoy these when you've got a little bit of free time. There we go. Now Tracy will try and lift this now. It's easier said than done, trust me. Right, what I want to show you is just, can you see, I've just got, let me see if we can see it down there. You've just got let me just add that, there you go, just so you can see, there you go, you can just see a little bit the actual measurement of, there we go. You can see I've just created sort of a narrow border. There we go. Let's just stick that down. And what I want to do is something a little bit different. So, there we go. So I'm going to take the floral stamp, and obviously you've seen me at the moment just stamp it straight onto the card. So what I'm going to do this time is just stamp it a little bit differently. I'm going to stamp it across the edge. And if I haven't inked enough of that line stem, I can easily do that again. So just lift that. And obviously there's going to be some on the low tack tape. I think the line here is slightly missed, but that's fine. And what I'm going to do is ink that again, ink the flower again. And I often spend a little bit of time pondering about what I'm going to do and where I'm going to place it. Sometimes it takes me a while just to decide where the placement's going. So I'm just adding these in the background. I'm not too worried about if a bit of the stem's missing, not a problem. So let's have it's nice if you can create some different things, and also take your time as well. Let's bring that a little bit down here rather than full on. Can we still see that? Yes, you can. And you can't tell what it's going to look like at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll just use my baby wipe just to clean some of the area, just so you can see what we've sort of, well, it's not what we've sort of got, what we've got. If I just clean that low tack tape. You can just see what we've got. And the reason I'm doing that, the reason I'm moving it from the low tack tape, is if I want to add some blending, all it's going to do is blend that black into the project, and I definitely don't want that. And what I want to do is just, have I got a piece of copy of paper? Of course I haven't. What I'm going to do is just give that a blot. Just to remove some of that ink. You can see a little bit there, and where you've got the line here, just so you can see that's where it's removed from the low tack tape. What I'm going to do is just move this out of the way. I don't want to remove the low tack tape at the moment because I know what I'm like. I'll remove the low tack tape and then decide I want it back on. So I'm just not moving it at the moment. Right, okay. So just so you can see what we've got at the moment. Let's just place that on one side. Now we want our card. Let's just cut some card, just so we've got that. And let's just take the flower head again. And it just gives the ink a little bit of time just to dry and not be so moist. I mean, I can use my heat tool and make sure it's dry anyway before I start blending. So I'm going to add, I think we'll have 2 so that we end up with 5 flower heads on there. And I like to take my time when I'm starting with stamps. I just need to just enjoy the process. So I'm just going to lever that acrylic block, just amazing. The acrylic block really helps me. So let's ink that again. Let's just add that again. I just think the flower is absolutely stunning. Now, Janet's back on Friday, which is the 16th of June. And on the 16th of June, she's on at 3 and 7, I think it is. And we're just having another look at these stamps, especially with them arriving and they were so hot off the press on the one-day special, just to give us another viewing. Aren't we lucky we can have another viewing? So, and really also to show you some of the design team samples as well, because they will hopefully be able to get a couple to the studios as well, just to give you their ideas. So let's place that on one side. Actually, no, we'll bring them in. Let's grab the heat tool, just what you want again on a hot day. Do you know I spend my life going in and out cupboards when I'm creating so many videos? And I actually tidy up, so I have to tidy up, bring it out, tidy up, bring it out. So let's just give that a little bit of a dry, and what we'll do is we'll place it just on here, and maybe just the low tack tape holding it down will stop it bending a little bit. The only reason I'm doing this is so that when I blend the ink, I don't end up with the ink blending with the black. I don't want it to blend with the black. So I'm just giving it a dry. Whilst we've got the heat tool out, we'll just give these a little bit of a dry as well. And you can see when it's not held down, you can see the card naturally curls. And that's why also a lot of the time I let things dry naturally. But sometimes when you're doing a video, we don't have that luxury. Let's bring it a little bit closer to me because I'm going to be inking as if it's a mile away. Let me make sure you can see that, which is the whole point. There we go. I've got one of my brushes. Is that green, purple, blue? I don't think I've got a brush that isn't got a colour. Oh no, there is. There's a grey. So I've got a little brush here. And I've got Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink. And I'm going to use the brush because it'll probably be a little bit gentler. And because it's a little bit gentler, I'm not going to smudge that ink. Now for you as the viewer, you're going to be like, can't see anything, Tracy. Now you just trust me and bear with me. There's some ink definitely going down there. And what I'm doing is I'm building it up very slowly. Very slowly. Let's just give that time. So with this process, I'm not going to rush the blending. I'm just taking my time. And really, I mean, I use cut and dry foam all the time, but there's always an occasion that you need something different. And for this occasion, I just need a brush. You can go over with your cut and dry foam, your ink blending tools, whatever you've got to hand. You know, I know some people even use a dry baby wipe for blending. So whatever rocks your boat. So I'm just blending over. Makeup brushes, whatever you've got. And I'm just going to continue blending around. And I just want to leave a little bit of a white area. That would be nice. Just leave a little bit of a white area. There we go. Let's just place that on one side. And then what I want to do is I want to grab my little miniatures. So I'm going to grab the miniatures, which is stamp set 756. And I'm going to use my text from there. I love the little text. And this stamp is used so frequently that the poor thing actually needs a bit of a clean at the back. It's surprising when you clean the back of your stamps how much grubbiness you get from the back. It's no wonder they don't stick sometimes. Or you can give them a little bit of a wash. Don't know whether I've even got that the right way up. Let's have a look. See, that isn't even straight. So I'm just going to lay that on there. And let's just, that's better. What I'm going to do is take my VersaFine Clair Morning Mist. And we're just going to add a little bit of stamping. So I've got my first generation and I can add my second generation. And again, we'll repeat that. Let's remove that bit of ink there. So we're going to add our first generation and let's not make it so it's all the same place. Second generation. So I'm using the Morning Mist, which is the VersaFine Clair, the grey. And obviously if you add any moisture to this grey ink won't move. Second generation, but of course, you know, the oxide would still move. There we go. So I think I can remove the low tack tape, but I think what we'll do is we'll just spritz it a little bit, and I'll knock the camera because that's me. Just give that a little bit of a spritz. Because what I try to do is I'm trying to move everything out of the way, that's why. Right. And we're just going to let that do its thing. Just give it a few moments. Just to do what it needs to do. Just wipe the moisture off here. Now, it's fine if you get some bleed underneath, because that actually adds to the sort of look of it as well. So I'm just removing some of the moisture. And then I'm going to just dab the card with any of that extra moisture. There we go. And then I can never remember which one came first. So I'll just remove the low tack tape. Let's just plonk that in there. There we go. Let's move it from here. Which one came first? That one, I think. And when you've got moisture and you're using a low tack tape, you need to remove that carefully, and that's why I removed some of the tackiness with, you know, by adding it to my skin, because when you've got moisture and tackiness, it can tear your pages, so you just need to be careful. Okay. And just so you can see that that's what we've got so far. And you could leave it like that if you wished and just put a sentiment and have it in the grey and white. So it's entirely up to you, but I'm going to add, you know, some impact now. So this is what we've got so far. So let's place this on one side. And then what I'm going to do is bring in my flowers and run my wheels over my heat tool. I'm going to grab my Ecoline pens. Mind you, I might use that again. So it is. And because I have so little time, you know, before Friday, I was just trying to, you know, do a little bit of cramming in of demos for you. Let's just remove that so I can use the acrylic block. There we go. And then we get ink all over our hand. So then we'll grab our water spritzer and try not to hit the camera. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the Carmine, which is 318. And I'm just going to add the Carmine. So this will just add a little bit of impact to our design. But if you wanted to keep the grey and just keep it monochromatic, you could do that as well. So some flowers I find I like to flick when I'm applying the colour. Others I'll use a circular motion. Sometimes it depends on the flower. And I'm just going to enjoy myself just doing the flower. And I don't really want to do two flowers at the same time. It's just not how I colour. I just like to create one at a time. So why don't you tell everybody what colour you're using, Tracy? That's reddish brown and it's 422. So I'm adding some of that darker colour. Oh, and I've just decided that petal's not getting any colour at all. Or that one. Obviously decided those didn't exist. So I do love the brush pen. It's lovely to use. You can use your pencils, your gel pens, whatever you've got in your collection. So I've got that darker, the reddish brown, And then I'm just going to go back in, and if I've got any harsh lines, just add a little bit more of the carmine red. There we go. And what I'm going to do then is make sure that I'm in camera and just add a little bit of that carmine red here. I'll take my water brush. I'm just going to make sure that's clean. I know that I used blue before and we don't want to create purple. Just give that a clean, that's it. So then I can pick up this red and then just blend out my colour. And I'm using a Pink Frog smooth card, and my card blank is 4.5 by 6.5. So I'm just blending that out. So I'm sort of blending the colour with a watered down version of my first colour, which was the carmine, just to blend out some of those harsh lines. And I'm trying to leave a little bit of a white area as well. And if your colour isn't moving, I mean, I love the Bristol Smooth for the Ecoline pens. It works beautifully on the Bristol Smooth. So what I'm doing is just adding another layer of colour. Now I want the dark on. And I will often spend a long time colouring, just to make sure that I've got the look that I want. Sometimes when you're demoing, you cut it a little bit shorter, because obviously you're watching and we're aware that you're watching. So what I'm going to do then is, there's just some that it just needs a little bit more. Depth, a little bit more colour coming up. So just take your time, don't rush the process of the colouring. Sometimes I have some videos where I've got the items coloured, but to be honest, I haven't today. I did sort of when I created the video this morning, but then I didn't do another one. So I'm sort of layering the colour and blending the colours out with the watered down version of the carmine, just so I keep some of the rich layer of colour. And it does take time to sort of build the layers up. It's not something that just happens in a few moments. And really what you should do is you should let the card dry and then come back and you can add more layers. So we'll just add the colour again. Try not to lean on my work. So easy to do. And I do find that with colouring you do lose yourself, and it's so relaxing. And I love how initially it looks like nothing on earth. You think, what? And then just as you take a little bit of time, it comes together. It's let's use that darker colour. And I love the fact that I'm using my products. I had a little bit of a declutter and a tidy up, and it always inspires me to just create, especially when I have got a lovely clear space. It makes me happy. I always think that a clear space gives a clear mind, and it just helps with creativity. Tracy, you can waffle for England. There you go. So I can't see if I've got any water on there. So I'm just going to blend this out now, just with that wash of colour. Now, when I'm colouring, I like simple methods. I like something that is going to give me good results. I'm not one of these people. I know some, you know, some beautiful artists out there who, you know, they'll spend half a day on colouring and it's sensational. But that's just not me. I like to enjoy the process, but it's very rare that I'll spend like a whole day just colouring. But I still want it to look professional. I don't want it to look sloppy and like you don't care. So I'm just picking up this colour again and just adding another layer. But I love the fact that, talk about warm, like, I don't think my fan's doing anything. I love the fact that with the Ecoline pens, and I have actually just bought myself some others as well. I've forgotten the make. It's another nice make as well, but I've forgotten the make. I have mentioned them before. I haven't used them yet, but I will. Just so it's got some different colours. But I just love the fact that I feel like an artist, even though I'm not. You know, the pens they just look wonderful. So yes, I do like to spend a little bit of time and I will still go in and just add a little bit more darkness. Don't forget, I am going to add a touch of those white highlights as well, just to bring a little bit more life into the design. So I'm just making it a little bit darker, so it's really rich. And there's nothing nicer when you've sort of coloured your flower, you know, and you're happy with what you've done. Let's go back to that carmine and let's pick up a little bit more of that colour. So I'm just, see, for me, that middle petal just hasn't got enough depth on at the moment. Just spend a little bit more time. Obviously I'm not going to keep you all day with colouring, but I hope you'll just indulge me, just because I just want it to look decent. And I'm not going in with my pen direct now, just so that I don't get any lines, although that one just isn't enough richness there. That's better. Nothing like being fussy. Just a little bit there. But lose myself colouring. There we go. Let's just leave it at that, Tracy, or else you'll be there. You will be there all day. And it's obviously better if you can allow those to rest before you actually try to cut out, because what you're doing is you're trying to cut out from a piece of card that's got moisture on there, and you can see the moisture through the back, which makes the cutting out a little bit harder for you. So let's just give that a little bit of a dry, just to add to the heat in the room. And if you let it dry naturally, or you dry it like I do, then you can literally go back in with some more colour if you wish. But there's no point trying to put that white on there, or any white on there, because it's just not going to work, because it's far too wet. And the reason I'm drying it is so that obviously when I come to cut those flowers out, it just makes it a little bit easier for me. So I'm just going to add a little bit of my gel pen, just to highlight that bit. Same on here. And if the ink's dry, the gel pen works beautifully. So I can go in and just add a little bit of sort of scratchy lines. I'm not overpowering it with the white, because I also don't want to lose the depth of colour in the red. So I'm just adding a few of those highlights. I'm just hardly touching that. You know, if you've got your pastel pencils, you could also use your pastel pencils to add touches of white. Just so you can see, let me just hold this up. When you add the touches of white, it really does make a difference to your floral. So let's just add a few here. And I'm hardly touching the gel pen on the petals, because I just don't want the white to overtake everything. Yes, but did we add one in? Yeah, there we go. So then I can just cut my flowers out, and because I've dried them a bit, they've got that sturdiness again. So it just gives them the little bit of sturdiness that I need. I'm going to leave a little white border, and for those of you that get a little bit fed up, you know, of watching somebody cut out, you can fast forward that bit. Time's so limited at the moment between designing life in general, dogs, children, house, garden. Fitting everything in is quite difficult. So sometimes I have to go with the flow and just create and cut out during the live video, so you can take that opportunity just to fast forward. I absolutely adore this flower. Just makes me happy. So I'm just leaving a little bit of a white border just to make it pop a little bit more. we go. And again, as always, I'm turning the card rather than the scissors. And I'm keeping my hand away from any of the ink, just so that I don't smudge anything. Even though I've given it a really good dry, I don't then want to get my fingers on there and smudge any of the red ink, just in case there's just a little bit of moisture there. Let's just grab that. Creating and gardening are definitely my happy places when it's not too hot. Oh, the garden this morning. Even my son is struggling with the humidity, and that's unheard of. There we go. So you can just see the beauty of that flower. Just love that. And I've just noticed something. Let's just add a little bit more colour there. There we go. Nothing like being pernickety, is there? Just adding a touch of colour. I still want to leave some white. And then we're going to cut this out in exactly the same way, just with a touch of that white. There we go. I can't believe the weekend's gone. It's gone so quick. My husband has been to Le Mans for the race. He's driven his classic car to Le Mans. He spent 3 days beforehand working on his car, hoping that, you know, everything would work okay. And touch wood, it's all gone fine. They've been away for a week and he travels back tomorrow. But he said he's ready for home now. I think all the driving, and he's been out in the heat quite a bit. I'm hopeless. I can't stand out in the heat or sunbathe. Just cut that out. I've got a huge copper beech in the garden. It's sort of at the bottom near the fence, and it's so huge now. I've had to contact the tree surgeon and say, you need to come and cut it by half. And I had to say, can you leave it for a month to come though, because I don't want you to trample on my plants. Can't trample on my plants. Because it doesn't matter who they are, tree surgeons or whatever, they do trample on your plants a little bit. And I'm mortified, especially if it's taken all year to grow. But this copper beech really does need doing. It's just grown too big. Sometimes trees just get away from you. 1 minute they're absolutely fine. The next time you look, you think, crikey, it's grown about 5 foot in the air. Extra to what it was. Oh, it's into the sky now. Right. So then we've got these beautiful florals. So let's bring in our card, and the pop of red is just going to bring a little bit of pop of colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some white cotton and texture to there. I love the grey with the red. And I'm using quite a bit of cotton, and what I tend to do is pull it out just so that, don't think about it too much. One blob there will do, and then you lose the end to the cotton. Tracy's trick every time. And I place, unplace, place and unplace, I don't know how many times when I'm doing a composition. I am dreadful. There we go. And we're just going to add that there. And again, I just want to, so I want to see some of the flowers underneath. So I've got my iPad standing up. Let's move that out the way. Use that pin flare glue, which will trap the threads. Nice big dollop, that's a professional term, of the adhesive. And then do I just want that? Bring you down a bit. Yeah. Just bend that a little bit and bend a few of the petals so they're going in different ways. And a good dollop. And a faff. There we go. Just push that up so we don't get any air. Can you just see how the pop of red just, it really does make it sing. It's just lovely. Right, let's just grab, where are you? I'm just going to grab my May release, and we've got the, see, I've got loads of samples to do with these yet. Oh, I need more hours in the day. I'm going to use my little roosters. I'll just grab those. Which one do I want? So I want you that's facing that way. Yes, I talk to my stamps, honestly. Always talk to my stamps, and I need it that side so that it stays away from my flower. I need the cotton out the way initially. There we go. Right, so then we'll just give that little rooster a really good ink and remove that excess ink because we don't want that over our card. Make sure that cotton's out the way initially, just while you stamp. And then I hold my breath because it's just a habit of mine before I put the little rooster down. Don't ask me why, no idea. And I'm just giving that time just to soak in to the card. Then I can bring my cottons down again. There we go. Put our little rooster back. I'm actually putting that back just so that it's in a safe place. So we've got our lovely rooster on there, but obviously I can't add the white until the ink just rests a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some little dots of white just to these as well, just where I can see, just to the grey ones as well. So just adding, just to add those pops of white. A few little touches of white here and there. Just to add a little bit of life. But they need to stay in the background, just so that the red is what's in the foreground. Just add a little bit of just to my little rooster. And then we're going to take our gel pen. And before I start, I always give the gel pen a little bit of a shake. Well, when I remember, let's be honest. Then I hold it here at the end, and then I'm just going to just add the lovely splatters, because they really add so much. And if you really pump that pen and the paint is flowing, you get beautiful splatters. Let's just wipe up the non-stick craft sheet and just show you that. So we've got a little bit, that's because my fan's going, just so that you can see. I do want a word on there, but let's place that on one side and then we can have a look at our sentiments. There's some beautiful sentiments on here. Let's have a look. Plant a garden, plant happiness. Gardens add life to your years. Create your own magic. I think I like. Plant a garden, plant happiness. Just lovely. And if I want, I can just place that down. If you've got a glass mat, I have underneath this, and it's got lines, so you can place it against the lines, and then you can get your sentiment straight. Some card. Let's make sure I stamp against a straight line, because then that helps me to get the sentiment straight as well. Especially if you don't like me and start stamping on the slant, which doesn't help. Yeah, that's fine. Love them sentiments. And don't stress too much about cutting out your sentiments, and if it's perfectly straight, it doesn't matter, because, you know, it can even add to the design. Don't worry about it too much. There we go. And we're going to add the black around the edge with my Posca pen, like I would when I used to have Krylon pens. Oh, Krylon pens, that was years ago. There we go. Just give that a couple of seconds. Just make sure, what I'm going to do is just make sure my hands are clean. There's nothing worse than, you know, being a little bit lax. These wipes are only water ones, but you don't want to be lax and get your fingerprints all over your card. So let's bring this in and drop it. And I'm just going to add this here, because it just sort of balances out this here. So just there, yeah. So let's just use a little bit of the pin flare. You know, I don't want to put it there. It doesn't make me happy, that doesn't. So just and when I'm putting the sentiment down, I also sort of don't breathe. Don't ask me why. There we go. And obviously you would let your Posca pen dry. Now, I've got that cleanness, if that makes sense, of that white border, and I don't want to add a black mat. I want to add it straight to a white card so it really pops and it's fresh. So I'm just going to add it straight to a 5 by 7 inch card blank, especially if I can pick up the card. Let's just... that. Let's bring in our card blank. Always make sure it's going to, you know, it's opening up the right way. So it's a 5 by 7 inch card blank, and I'm going straight onto that card blank. Try not to touch any Posca pen, just so that we don't get any of those smudges. And you just need to make sure that you just give it time just to grab hold. Just give that a few moments so that it grabs hold. There we go. And that is your next card. And I absolutely love that. Absolutely love it. And I just think the flower is stunning. So I hope you've enjoyed that one. I hope you'll give that a try. Look forward to seeing your makes. And thank you all so much for your support. So love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.